You are not filing bankruptcy because you are assuming that you're going to lose everything. Y'all don't have nothing to lose. We don't have nothing to lose. Trump is still the president and he has filed bankruptcy how many times? Trump Towers is still running, up and running. Doors are open. And you think when you file bankruptcy, they about to come get them little $5 bags that you buying from Canal Street? They not coming for us. They're not coming for us. So when you think of bankruptcy and you think you're going to lose everything, no, you're not. Forever 21 just filed bankruptcy. And guess what? They're still in business making money while on bankruptcy. They're closing some stores, but some stores will remain open.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
The turkeys are being fed some bad grain here on TikTok about Chapter 7 bankruptcy, all right? Chapter 7 bankruptcy, unlike Chapter 13, which is a reorganization of debt and a payment plan, in Chapter 7, you lose everything. It goes into a bankruptcy estate, right? And the bankruptcy estate is ruled over by a trustee that is appointed from the court, okay? So certain states only allow you to exempt certain percentages of the value. I think in Illinois, it was $15,000 of the value of the house. So if you had a house for $50,000 and you only exempt $15,000 of the value, you got to pay the trustee, okay, to keep your house, or else they will take it from you and sell it to offset the debt. You have no control over your money, and sometimes the trustee will only allow you to have $400 in cash at a given time to pay your bills and to do whatever. Now, obviously, you could exempt certain things, but certain states, the exemption is not even that high. It's only like $20,000. So what's that going to do you? So before you go out there and pull all your money out, or move your house into somebody else's name before you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, understand the trustee can look back at bank records and deeds and everything and go back a ways, okay, before you file bankruptcy. It's because you're relinquishing your rights to your finances, okay? And they will go back and they'll find this and they're going to see, oh, that's fraud. You tried to defraud your creditors. You know what's going to happen to you? I want you arrested, and they will have you arrested for that, okay? Now, we're not talking little piddly things you thought to, throw in there like a couch or something. We're talking like big assets, cars, houses, and blah, blah, blah. Now, I've actually been in court. I've seen a dude who had a car transferred into somebody else's name, and the trustee's like, I need that car. And the guy's like, well, it's in my dad's name. The trustee's like, well, it wasn't, it wasn't until you filed bankruptcy, so I need that car. And they went back and got the dude's car. So don't try to screw these people. If you're going to file Chapter 7, really sit down and talk with a lawyer, because it may be better just to keep paying your debts, guys. Don't just say, I'm done, I'm filing Chapter 7, and not read the fine print, because you'll get screwed.
My name's Bernice, I'm a bankruptcy attorney, and I'm here to tell you that life does not end after bankruptcy, and it in fact just begins. I currently don't take any private clients, so this is just my experience as someone who's been helping people just like you and I. You will still be able to buy a house, get credit cards, get a car, get lines of credit. You will be able to do everything. Now, of course, you're going to have to rebuild. It's going to take time, but you can do it. This is not the setback that you think that it is. Because again, how many years have you been paying the minimums, been trying to do the debt consolidation, been trying to get a way out of this? Get the relief that you need in order to move on with your life. And as always, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. And if you just want to talk to each other, talk to me. What's your experience if you did file bankruptcy? Let us know.
I just saw a video of someone, I felt like encouraging people to file bankruptcy just because she feels like she's in a position where she's about to file bankruptcy. As some of you guys know, from time to time, I'll audit people's finances, like it's a service that I provide. And I had no idea until the end of this one person was actually even considering filing bankruptcy. I'm going to treat everyone's situation, and I'm going to find what I can, what I do in your situation, in order to make the situation better for you. I had looked through her expenses, and granted, there were some months like that she was in the red as far as how her expenses compared to her income, but she had an upcoming month where she was going to be very well in the green and have money left over after all her expenses. And I literally took so much time for this person, and I really just said, look, you can do this, you can do that, you can do all these things to try to get yourself better and prepare this money that you're going to have in excess to prepare for the month where on paper you might not have money left over at the end of the month. And it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, but you are going to have to pay for what you did, all this debt that you racked up. And after taking so much time to work on this for her, the only response that she gave me after I sent her the completed audit was, she not just filed bankruptcy, And so I say that to say that some people really try to glamorize bankruptcy, but absolutely not. It's not a glamorizing situation. It's something that you want to avoid at all costs if you can. The thing is that when you sign up for all that debt, you're signing up for guaranteed income for the foreseeable future to pay for this debt. And not only that, but debt is such the norm that everyone is signing up for so much debt. It's not just your $600-700 car payment. It's your personal loan. It's your car loan. It's your credit card debt. It's everything. And then all of a sudden, you have so much debt that it's more than the monthly income that you're bringing in. So just for anyone who's about to sign up for some new debt, I don't know what the situation is, what it could be. You might just say, yeah, let's just do it. Just think about the guaranteed income that you absolutely need to have to pay for these expenses that we keep adding to the situation.
Okay, so I told y'all I was 56K in debt, and I got so many people suggesting that I file for bankruptcy. And although I understand where you guys are coming from, absolutely not. Absolutely not. My 56K of debt is my student loans, my car note, and then I think 3K of that is Easy Pass. Because we all know Easy Pass be tripping. All I have to do is pay my bills on time. Right now I'm working part-time, and that's something that I had to do for my mental health because I was going through so much in my life, and I was just like, no, money's not that important. Nothing is more important than me, period. So I chose me over everything. But I'm okay now, and I'm ready to get back out there, and I will literally get another job, start a side something to make more money. But I'm perfectly fine with my situation, y'all. On top of that, if I file for bankruptcy would like quite literally do the complete opposite of everything I'm trying to do right now. I want to build my credit. I just want everything to go smooth for me. And I feel like if I file for bankruptcy, like I would have a higher interest rate for everything. I would get probably damn near denied for everything. That would literally show terrible. It would be terrible on my history. Absolutely not. I'm okay. I'm cool. I'm going to just pay my bills like a grown-ass adult, and I'm cool, okay? I'm cool.
It's actually a great idea to file when you're unemployed or in between jobs or just jobless in general. We look at the last 6 months of your pay, and then we calculate whether you meet the means test for that state. So say you've just had a rough patch and you've been going on job interviews, or nobody's returning your calls or asking you to be on interviews, and you're essentially living on EDD. That's a great time to file, assuming you can come up with a bankruptcy attorney fees. With that said, you also have to kind of time it pretty correctly because of the fact that you don't want to file when you already have a job offer in place that's going to pay you a substantial amount over what the means test allows, because you may be jobless for the last 6 months, but the trustee may ask you, do you have a job lined up and what is the rate of pay? And it may be $100,000 and you may not qualify anymore because of your specific household size.
I filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy in May of 2024, and I'm almost a year out, so here are some things I wish I would have known. After your 341 hearing, no news is good news. No news is good news. You don't want to hear anything. There's one step after discharge, though. There's actually closing your bankruptcy. That I did not know. We could not get into our mortgage portal until our bankruptcy completely closed. Just a rule stipulation with them. But that was a piece that I was not aware of. You do not have to wait for discharge to start rebuilding your credit. In some places, you can buy a car the day after you file bankruptcy. We bought a newer vehicle with a better interest rate, and it's so much nicer. Right after our discharge came through. I actually have the link to the place I bought my car. They only work with the lenders that work with the bankruptcy people, and they're amazing. You do not lose everything in a bankruptcy. You choose what is going to happen, for the most part. The entire thing is a roller coaster of emotions, but you need to look towards the light at the end of the tunnel, because that light is the fresh financial start you have to rebuild and build wealth and look to the future. Because when you are stuck in a place of just trying to survive, this is an option. If you can't budget your way out of it, look at bankruptcy. It's an option. And like I said, if you're looking for an attorney, my attorney's network is right here. It doesn't cost anything. It's a free consultation. You find a lawyer, you get your information, you decide if it's right for you. If it is, great. If it's not, great. But don't discount bankruptcy, because it's not horrible. We're thriving. We're doing good. A year out from bankruptcy. Take this as a sign. Maybe it's time to look at it. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.
Hey friends, Bankruptcy, the good, the bad, the ugly part 2. Try to make this pretty quick. So I went through some extremely difficult and trying times over the past 2 years, we'll put it that way. As a result of that, I ended up losing my job. I was a chief financial officer. I'm an accountant, have a master's degree in accounting, and I owned a home. I had just bought a new house, had 2 vehicles, had debt from student loans, from tax payments. I had a slew of medical debt and some other personal loans where I had done some remodels on my house. So I got into a situation where I could no longer afford the payments, and so that's what made me choose Chapter 13.
Owning your house is not in and of itself a problem when you file for bankruptcy. The problem is whether or not the value of your home is higher than your state's bankruptcy homestead exemption. So for example, in the state of Texas, there's an unlimited exemption, and therefore it doesn't matter how much your house is worth. If you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you get to keep it. But in the state of Tennessee, you don't have that freedom. You can only keep $5,000 worth of equity of your home. So the fact that you own your home isn't the issue. The issue is what state do you live in? And then the issue becomes, are you only going into a Chapter 13 then because you're trying to save your house? If you otherwise are under the income limit, under the means test, then you will have a difficult time in a Chapter 13 because the only reason you're there is to protect equity. And we all know it's already a struggle for you to meet your basic needs, much less to add money on top of it just for the sake of keeping your home. It's difficult to afford. If you go into a Chapter 13 to save your home, you may not be able to afford it. And there's nobody in the bankruptcy world who's out here making sure that you can afford it. That is only the case if you're in a Chapter 13 because your income's over the limit. I hope you understand this.
A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
Hey Elsie, so I recently got denied for an apartment that me and my fiance applied to, and they were telling me, like, during the tour, the realtor who was showing it to us was like, yeah, the landlords are really strict, like, you're gonna have to have a good application. I'm like, yeah, I work full time, I have a side job, like, we make enough money, like, abundantly enough to qualify. Our credit scores are 700 plus. Like, I wasn't worried about the application at all. I wanted to make sure I liked the place. We liked it and we applied, and they denied us after like a 3-hour application process. They wanted my car's insurance card. They wanted all of my employers from like 5 years back, recent landlord references, which we have. They wanted how much money's in my bank account, my savings, how much money's on any credit cards, which is almost zero, the amount on my car loan. Like, this application was insane. And then there was a questionnaire that said, like, do you foresee any financial troubles in the near future? Who would put yes? Like, you're applying for housing. So it took over 2 hours to do, and we ended up getting like 2 hours of sleep that night after a full day of touring apartments, and then we had to go fly and work a flight. So it was a lot to apply for the place. But anyway, let me get to the denial, because it's the biggest crock I've ever seen. So they asked on the questionnaire, is there anything in your credit history that you should like come clean about? And I'm like, what is this? I'm not buying a house. Like, this is insane. But I said on there, I have a bankruptcy from 5.5 years ago. I have no debt. I've always made on-time payments, even prior to my bankruptcy. And, my financial health is the best it's ever been post-bankruptcy. Anyone with a brain knows that after bankruptcy, you're in a better financial position than before because you're debt-free. That's the point. It's discharging your debts. But I get it. Some people are dumb. They see bankruptcy and they think that's just like a huge sign that you're so financially irresponsible. I was 21 when I filed bankruptcy, and it completely changed my life. Financially speaking, everything was so much better after going through that process. So I'm like, okay, we got denied because they're saying that from 5 years ago, and they don't understand how it works or realize that someone can, have no debt after bankruptcy and keep it that way and be financially responsible. So I'm like, whatever. But before I got the denial, I was looking into who the landlord was. They had their house under a trust, but I was able to find out who it was. and I was searching their name, and I saw this person, this landlord, had a bankruptcy themselves the same year as mine for a house that they owned in a really nice neighborhood. I guess it had a house fire. They went to bankruptcy court to get the lien off to be able to sell it, and they filed bankruptcy on this LLC that was the house. So interesting how it worked for them, and they could understand, they're fine, but for me it didn't work. So I was just like, you are such a hypocrite. I don't want the damn place anymore anyway. Bye.
Filing bankruptcy caused me to be homeless, get denied for apartments, get denied for a car, get denied for a job, and truly struggle, all because it's on my credit report. I think that's the narrative that people want to hear when I tell them at 28 years old I filed bankruptcy because I had over $50,000 worth of debt. But honestly, when I come on here and talk about my bankruptcy, I don't come on here to glamorize it. I come over here to educate people, to let them know that, hey, I was once in your situation 4 years ago, and that now I honestly don't know where my life would be if I didn't file bankruptcy to get that fresh restart. And no, I'm not saying everyone needs to file bankruptcy, but for the individuals like myself who need to file, I don't care what age you are. I don't care how many people have told you that it's going to be the worst decision of your life. I'm here to tell you that there are so many people like myself that bankruptcy has been the best decision that we could have made to be able to, again, get that fresh restart to at this point in our lives, to be able to reach other goals that we may have and be able to get rid of that debt and the stress that came along with it. And here at my platform, I love to educate people that the reason why I wasn't afraid to file bankruptcy is because, for one, I don't care what people think. For two, I'm very resourceful of, if there's a goal I'm trying to reach or something I'm trying to obtain, I always know that there's going to be a yes, some way, somehow. Someone can tell me no a million times for a job, but it only takes that one yes. Someone can tell me no for a car, but I'm going to find someone who's going to say yes. Someone can tell me no for a house or an apartment, but I'm going to find that person that's going to say yes. I have to be resourceful. I have to ask questions. I have to reach out to individuals who know that there are options. They're able to get second chances. I'm very big on researching things. So the reason why, again, I wasn't afraid to file bankruptcy is because I did my research of, hey, this is how I want my life to be after I'm discharged from my, again, I did Chapter 7. This is how I want my life to look after I filed bankruptcy. I knew I needed a place to stay. I knew I needed to be able to get a new vehicle. I knew I needed a job that was okay with my bankruptcy. All of those things that were the main things on my list of what I needed to be able to have a new start in my life, I was able to obtain those things. Yes, I had hurdles. Yes, I had people saying no, but the people who said yes, that's all that mattered to me. Just the same as how I had to rebuild my credit after filing bankruptcy. Yes, you can get denials and things like that, but I knew there was someone who's going to be able to, hey, I'm going to give you a second chance with the credit card to be able to rebuild your credit. And I've been able to do that. So I'm just so big on someone's going to say yes that I don't look at the no's. Or if someone does say no, I'm going to be questioning, hey, why did they say no? Okay, that was the reason. So let me fix that problem that I currently have to be able to get a yes from the next person. I'm very big on that. And again, while that bankruptcy is staying on my credit, I was able to easily rebuild my credit within that 1 year's time frame. It can take somebody 6 months, a year. It can take 2 years. But again, I'd rather for that bankruptcy to be on my credit report and me get rid of that debt and be able to now save and be able to live the life I need to live and not living paycheck to paycheck, than, again, stressing about this debt, unable to pay it, ruining my credit even more, all because I'm trying to do the Dave Ramsey way of paying this off. But again, bankruptcy is not for everyone, but for the people that it's for, do your research and do what works best for you.
I'm going to tell you the cheapest way how to file for bankruptcy in the next 50 seconds. I've gone viral quite a few times about my bankruptcy process and my bankruptcy journey, so I think I know what I'm talking about just a little bit. One, you need paperwork to submit. You're going to go to upsall.org or legal aid. I use upsall.org. You're going to upload your documents and put your information. It's going to formulate all the documents you need to file for bankruptcy. Once you have all your documents, you are going to file it with the court. If you don't want to pay the court fee or feel like you are just too broke to file the court fee, no shame, but you got to fill out the waiver to do that and make sure you get an approval before filing, because if you go into that courthouse, they're going to ask you for $340. Okay, just a warning. And then after that, you do have to take 2 courses, one before your 341 meeting and one before discharge. They're both kind of like financial literacy courses, making sure that you know better so you won't have to get yourself in this predicament again. And now you file for bankruptcy.
Good morning. I got some more bankruptcy questions. If you are new here, I filed for bankruptcy 2 years ago now. almost 2 years, January of 2023. And I've been able to build my credit back up into the 700s, get an apartment, a car, credit cards, everything. So I'm gonna address some questions that I got on my Instagram. I was able to keep my car. I do think they have an option where you can have your car taken. I think that's a personal decision. At the time, I had a 2020 car. There was nothing wrong with my car. I had never missed a payment on anything, so I wasn't filing for bankruptcy because I, quote, couldn't afford it. I filed personally because I was pregnant. I was about to be a single mother. I was buying everything on my own, and just having that extra payment when I knew I was gonna have to pay for childcare and do everything on my own, it just was way too much. So I opted for a fresh start, so that's why I did it. So I did keep my car and I didn't have any problems with that. I did have an attorney, but I've been made aware on some of my other videos that you can file and get the fee discharged as well. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I would definitely check with your state. But I did have an attorney. I went to Pagano and Marks. I used Keith Pagano for my bankruptcy. And when I say, like, I don't have too many answers about it just because the process was so easy and they pretty much did everything for me. I had to go in and answer some questions with them so we could make a plan. But other than that, it was literally a phone call. You waited until your name was called. My attorney was on the line as well. And they just asked you a couple questions. You have to do a credit rebuilding thing, and like there's like 2 things that you have to do, little courses that took like an hour, and they just ask if you did that. You say yes. They go through pretty much everything. My attorney spoke for me. I said yes or no to a couple of the things, and then that was it, and it was discharged and I was done. Another question, so when I knew that I was gonna file for bankruptcy, I stopped paying on my credit cards, which was crazy to me because even before I filed, I had never missed a payment on anything. I never missed a rent payment, car payment, credit card payment, nothing. Never missed a payment, so not paying did feel kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie, but as soon as I made the decision and paid my attorney that I was gonna file for bankruptcy, I stopped paying. And no, you do not want to pile up credit card debt or buy a bunch of things because they look at all of this. They look at the timeline of everything and when you file for bankruptcy and why. A lot of people have asked about my apartment. I had no issues getting an apartment. So I was discharged early 2023 and I got an apartment. I saved for the year and then got an apartment in December of 2023. And I even asked the people at the apartment complex if the bankruptcy would matter at all, and they said no. What matters most for an apartment is rental history. What is that? At least in my area, I've seen that because I also have looked at other apartments recently, and it's all about rental history and they want to see that you could pay the rent. I think the most important thing after you file for bankruptcy is just to make sure that you have an extremely high level of discipline with your finances. In my situation specifically, I was very irresponsible with money. Before I had a child, I was trying to keep up with an image and just going out and traveling, and I was in my early 20s and that's how it happened. It was from college till my early 20s and I was just doing too much. But after becoming a parent, it's made me extremely responsible in more areas than one. So I do think that it was a great fresh start and a great reminder that you have to be super disciplined with your money. Oh, also I forgot about the credit cards after. So I used Credit One to rebuild my credit, and also my mom, love her, she was kind enough to add me as an authorized user on her card. So I was able to build my credit up very, very quickly because her credit score is great. I used my Credit One card. I think the limit was like $500 when I first got it, but I used it for gas and groceries, and I would pay it off. I made 2 payments every month, so I would make sure that it was completely paid off by the end of the month. And now I have a Capital One Venture card. I actually have 2 travel rewards cards with them, one for my business and one for personal. And the limits are pretty good on those. And I know that it will only get better because as your credit builds, then it'll get better. But I opted for travel cards because I wanted to be very strategic with it because, like I said, I do love to travel and I love to go and do things. So I want to make sure that I can get the benefits from that. So that's really all I use those cards for. I will put most of my expenses on there outside of rent and my car payment and pay it off at the end of every single month. Like nothing rolls over. I spend stuff on that card, but only what I have. I keep money in my checking account and then I pay off that travel rewards card every single month. But I've been able to build up to like 100,000 points. So if you want a link to get that card, because 100,000 points, I could literally go anywhere right now. So I do recommend, just to make sure that you can be disciplined with the finances, if you cannot, don't get another credit card. If you don't trust yourself yet, don't get another card. But for my situation personally, I'm in a better financial place, so I did trust myself to get a card and not overspend. And also, becoming a parent just changes you and changes how you think about certain things. But I do 10 out of 10 recommend, especially if you're just looking for a fresh start and you just feel like there's not a way out right now. Because there is, and it's okay. We all make mistakes. People have their opinions about it. But I would definitely recommend getting an attorney if you have a lot of assets or like questions about that. Even consulting with one would be beneficial, because since I didn't own anything outside of my car, it was just a very easy process for me. But I could try to answer questions. I've been messaging with a couple people since I posted my original video, so I could try to answer a couple questions for you guys. But I do 10 out of 10 recommend if you're just looking for a fresh start.
A lot of the time, we take on way too much debt, usually at a very young age. Then life happens, and we cannot repay the debt. And we are stressed out of our minds, and now we file for bankruptcy. That is how it usually happens about 90% of the time. We are not able to handle that amount of debt, and then we screw ourselves over.
There's 2 videos on this here app that really stuck with me while I was like, I already decided that I was going to file for bankruptcy, but when you say things, your phone picks it up. So here's the 2 things. One girl, one girl was like, not enough people are filing for bankruptcy. I don't know if y'all know, this is how the rich stay rich and, get back on their feet when they need to, but file for bankruptcy, number 1. Number 2, another girl, it was just like, best birthday gift I ever gave to myself was on my 30th birthday. I filed for bankruptcy. I was like, chef's kiss. I'm not a financial advisor in the slightest. So what I'm about to tell you is things in my personal situation that I got from lawyers that I spoke with. I spoke to 3 lawyers about filing for bankruptcy, and the lawyer that I'm deciding to go with, it costs almost $3,000 to file for bankruptcy with her. Keep in mind, I thought filing for bankruptcy is gonna be like $600, $700, maybe $800 to file for bankruptcy. I know these people gotta get paid somehow, but I was not thinking $3,000. Gratefully, she does a down payment thing and then like payments after that, which is great. But $3,000. The rest of them, the lowest out of those 3 was $23,500 almost for filing for bankruptcy. They wanted it all up front. The other 2 lawyers wanted it up front. When you're actually ready to file, you can be put on a payment plan with a co-signer or pay the rest out of pocket. That's cool. I can find a co-signer, but I was still shocked myself. Another little gotcha. I didn't know that if you are married or single, it really does make a difference. And if you are planning on getting married, like you're just in the engaged stage or, whatever, file for bankruptcy before you actually get married. Because when you're married and you're filing for bankruptcy, it just takes a little longer. Then the courts are probably going to try to push for a Chapter 10 instead of Chapter 7. Chapter 7, they did all of it starting from ground up. Chapter 10, they put you on some type of payment plan to pay back your creditors. But if you're just looking like you yourself, they're just going to look at you and your income. And especially if you don't have any income, there's literally minimum denial right there. Another little one too got you that I learned from the lawyer that I decided to go with. In my particular state, obviously, a lot of women and business owners are the ones that file for bankruptcy. She was just like, yeah, I don't get a lot of clients, no fault to me because she is white. A lot of women in their 25 to 30 era, they file for bankruptcy. And honestly, the sooner you file for bankruptcy, the better. Also, I don't know about you, but for me, when I heard the word bankruptcy, like growing up and stuff, I thought your credit was gonna be shot. You can't get nothing for like 7 years. You're basically a turtle in the shell until it get cleared off. No, that's not the case at all. And the process, you guys, the process is done over the phone for a lot of people. Like, I don't have to be there at all. I get on the phone with her probably 2-3 times, explaining my situation, make sure I have all my documents lined up, sent over, yada, yada, yada. And then I can be on the phone with the courts. I don't have to be in the actual city, because in the state I live in, the city closest to me for bankruptcy court is like 2 hours away. 2.5 maybe. I don't know. I'm not doing that. All this free information I'm giving to you, it was given free to me through consultations with lawyers. This is like an hour and a half worth of information, and I have more information, but I'm giving it to you for free because I got it for free, and I feel like you should know. So if this was your sign to file for bankruptcy, you have it. Go do it.
General Motors, Chrysler, and Hertz can all file for bankruptcy and then survive after. I can too. That's what I've decided. And I feel like filing for bankruptcy has so much shame attached to it in our society And that's not fair, because as someone who has been financially responsible 90% of my life, and at one point had $30,000 saved up just a few years ago, and then got COVID, and then lost my job, like, because every company is like restructuring, you know, and now I'm in a massive amount of debt, which half of it is student loan debt, and half of it is like medical debt and basic necessities. Why should I feel shame for being shackled with debt that I should not have accrued in the first place? We bail out big banks, companies all the time. Where's their shame? I can do this. Because there's really no reason I need to be shackled with fucking, I don't know, like $1,200 of payments to debts. Like, I feel shackled by the financial constraints that some random fucking people that I've never met put on me. I was born on this planet with a job already. And contributing to society, I understand. I'm happy to pay taxes, and when it benefits everybody, I get that. I'm not saying, like, live wholly individualistically. I'm just saying that expecting me to shackle my life to this country, I'm bankruptcy. I want to go to Australia. I think that's where I would go.
Hands down, one of the greatest benefits of a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I mean, in addition to being able to get rid of credit cards and medical bills and payday loans and stop lawsuits and stop garnishments and stop a repo, one of the most underrated benefits here is the ability that you have to surrender a car that has negative equity. And when I say you get to surrender it in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, that means you get to give it back and you're not responsible for the difference. Do you have a car that's worth $20,000, but you owe $32,000 on it? That is not a good deal. You can go into a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, deal with all of your other debt, and you can also give that car back, and you could go buy a car that doesn't have negative equity. Remember, there's a link in my profile you can follow through to talk to a car dealership that actually only sells cars to people who are in bankruptcy or in the 12 months afterwards. So getting a car is something you can start looking into right now. I send my own bankruptcy clients over to this car dealership before we file, and oftentimes my clients can have a car shipped to them right after we file. So they don't have to worry about, what am I going to drive? What am I going to do? Remember, the biggest issue with Chapter 7 bankruptcy in cars is people trying to irrationally keep something they shouldn't keep. The underrated benefit here is being able to give the car back and get out from under negative equity. Really, think about it. Negative equity is no different than a credit card. If you have a car that's worth $20,000 and you owe $42,000 on it, you have a $22,000 credit card glued to the top of your car. That's how you need to think about it. So let's start thinking about our problems a bit more globally, and let's find a solution that'll fix everything.
Let's chit chat. So I've decided that I'm going to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy because I'm 24 and I got $29,000 worth of debt. How I got there is because I had a good paying job. I mean, making 5 figures at 20, and I was stressed because I didn't know how to manage the stress. I decided to quit that job, get a lower paying job, and let's just say the bills don't stop. Then I decided to go to school to become an esthetician, which also meant I was going to school full time. Bills don't stop. So the way I figure it, file for Chapter 7. It takes possibly 7 years for it to get discharged off your credit. By that time, I'm 24, I'd be what, 30? Do the math, I don't know. And I'll be ready to buy a house. Years. And if our own president, soon to be president, can do it, baby, I'm finna do it too. So now I have to pay my lawyer $1,385 to go speak on my behalf and tell them that I cannot afford the amount of debt that I have. If I don't decide to do bankruptcy, it would take me 12 years to pay it out while everything's still current interest. So I'm about to go file for bankruptcy. It's the smart thing to do in my case.
I recently filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and I wanted to talk you guys through the timeline because that's a question I get commonly asked. So August 26th is the day that I decided to file. By August 30th, I had come up with the money to pay the bankruptcy filing fee, and I had provided my bankruptcy attorney all of my documentation. So that was just heading into Labor Day weekend. September 10th is when we actually filed, because sometime the following week after Labor Day weekend, we got on the phone, went through everything. We then filed the following week. So September 10th is when I filed, and October 16th is when my trustee meeting is. So there's about 5 to 6 weeks between filing and my trustee meeting. And I don't know what the timeline is post trustee meeting to when things actually get discharged, because I've never walked through this process before in my entire life, and I don't know if there's a big delay. So I will keep you guys updated. But right now we're in the process of, we have filed bankruptcy. We have not yet had the trustee meeting, but that is the timeline of events so far. And just for reference, I am in Washington State because I think things will look different depending on the state that you're in, the county that you're in, all of that. And yeah, trust that I will continue to keep you guys updated.
If this video found you, then you probably need to file bankruptcy. Now let me break this down to you. This isn't for everybody. I'm not telling everybody that they should file bankruptcy, but what I am telling you is, if you're in a similar situation to where I was 3 years ago with over $150,000 in consumer debt, and that's not even including the 30K I had in student loans, you'll understand why you might need to consider going bankrupt. So there's a couple different kinds of bankruptcy, but the one that I did was Chapter 7. It's a complete restart. So essentially what Chapter 7 is, it looks at all of the debt that you report, and it sees the attempts that, it sees how much money you make, so it sees the attempts that you made to pay the debt in the past. And what it does is literally wipes your slate clean. It closes all of the accounts on your credit. So once you do that, you're literally starting from scratch. Now, luckily for me, that was the best thing I could have ever did for my credit, because it really gave me the restart that I needed to be able to start my financial journey. Like now, my credit is way up. Even the month after I filed it, my score literally went up like 80 points. Literally. So I was back damn near in the 700s again already just from that. But getting and building that credit took time with the bankruptcy. So how do I file bankruptcy? Number one, you have to look up bankruptcy attorneys in your state. Number two, have a consultation with those people, because they're going to tell you the best bankruptcy that you need to consider, because there's Chapter 13, which is partial. You can pick and choose what you want to write off. There's Chapter 7, like I said, that's a total wipe. There's multiple different kinds. There's business. There's Chapter 11. There's all these different kinds of bankruptcy. So you need to figure out what exactly you need to do. And once you get those consultations from the bankruptcy lawyer, what you're going to do from that point is just follow the process. What I did, I had to pay about $2,500 for the attorney fee, and then he pretty much did everything else. I provided him all the paperwork. I filed on the portal, the client portal. I put in all my documents, and then I had what's called a 341 meeting. Before I had the 341 meeting, which is essentially the meeting where you're having with the hearing with the trustee. The trustee is the person who's going to ask you questions like, what's your name? Why are you filing bankruptcy? Do you confirm that everything in this file is correct? Things like that. But the pre-341 call is going to prep you exactly how you need to answer the question. So we literally went through each question the person asked or could ask, and I made sure to get all the correct answers from a lawyer who was going to be present on the call with me. I was waiting on the phone they tell you exactly what day and time your calling is. So you call in, they say 30 minutes before just to make sure your name isn't called early. So I was on there 30 minutes. The call literally took 3 minutes. I was literally so stressed out. I was like, well, what if I went through all this and I'm still not going to get approved? It was literally 3 minutes. She asked me like 5 questions. And then she asked my lawyer, do you have any questions? She said, no. She said, okay, well, thank you for your time, Zach. You're good. And then literally like 30 days after that, my shit cleared. So it's a very simple process. So if nothing else, I recommend, if you're thinking about bankruptcy, if you're in a situation where you have a lot of debt, you don't know what to do, at least look into a bankruptcy lawyer and get a consultation. It's free.
$150,000 worth of debts. Consumer debts, which means you like to shop. You're addicted to shopping, pretty much. How can you have $150,000 worth of consumer debts? How is that possible? Dude, this guy is financially irresponsible because there's no way. Who gave him $150,000? That literally makes no sense. 150 grand? Bro, what were you buying? What were you spending all that money on? The money that's not even yours. You're spending someone else's money, $150,000. That is just extremely financially irresponsible. That is literally insane. Who gave him that money? Man.
No, it does not clear your responsibility toward this house. The reason why is homes and financed cars are considered secured debt. Secured debt is debt that is a tangible item that you are either living in or your name is on it. And when you file for bankruptcy, if you still want to keep that house, that debt still belongs to you. Now, if you and your spouse both move out and you decide, I don't want this property anymore, I'm going to surrender it back to the bank, then yes, it gets wiped out as to you. Then at that point, you can walk away from it free and clear along with all of your other debt. But if your spouse is living in that house and you've moved out and your spouse says, hey, I don't want to pay this anymore, they will come after you if you don't end up obviously dealing with that mortgage because it's considered secured debt. So it's something to think about in a divorce.
I made a video about how I filed for bankruptcy, and a lot of people were telling me that filing bankruptcy for $13,000 is crazy, which I don't understand because you don't know what my life was like. And $13,000 was a lot for me. And like I said, I was making those credit card payments and then having to use the credit cards again because I couldn't afford basic necessities. Like, I wasn't making a lot of money. And also a lot of people were saying that $10,000 credit cards is not a lot. 3 $10,000 limit credit cards as a college student is absolutely insane. And I misused them. So again, it was a revolving door. And I'm also an entrepreneur. And I was pregnant when I filed for bankruptcy. And so maybe put 2 and 2 together and think, oh, so she owns her own business. She doesn't get maternity leave. Did you think about that before you wanted to think and put your input? Yeah, as a business owner, I get no paid maternity leave. I get nothing. I'm just out of work. So I had to save for that. I had to buy a car seat. I had to buy a stroller. I had to buy a crib. I had to buy clothes. I had to buy books. I had to buy all the baby necessities because I was preparing to do this on my own. And now that I filed for bankruptcy, I finally can save money. I finally can put money into a retirement account. So before, I was struggling to get by because my months were different. My business was up and down and up and down. It was too much and I could not afford to live. I scaled back. I moved to my parents' house. I was able to save and buy anything that my baby needed. I also was able to move into an apartment and fully furnish it in the first month. And now I have a retirement account for myself and a savings for my child. So yeah, $13,000 might not be a lot for you, and claps, congratulations, but it was a lot for me, and I was gonna be paying on it for a long time because I was irresponsible with the cards and the interest rates were high and the payments just wouldn't stop. And it's the best thing I ever did. I don't regret it at all. I would have filed even if I had $9,000. So, but I made this video to be helpful, not for people to be coming at me for choices that are best for my life, because you don't know my life based on one video that I was just telling you my experience with filing for bankruptcy.
Using your tax return to pay for your bankruptcy is absolutely one of the smartest things to do. Hear me out. If you have a lot of debt and you get a tax return and you use your tax return to pay your debts, catch bills up, do all that stuff, which we have done for years. We would catch our utilities up. We would catch our house up. We would catch whatever, if the house is behind, like rent or whatever. We would catch our credit cards up if we were behind. We would catch everything up. We were never getting ahead, but we still had all that debt. And we would go through that vicious cycle of reusing that debt or falling behind again and the following year doing the same. We don't have to do that anymore. You can use your tax return to pay an attorney to file bankruptcy for you. Chapter 7, if you qualify in the means test. And you never have to use your tax return to catch your bills up again if you're smart and rebuild correctly. If you get a tax return, now is the time to contact a local to you bankruptcy attorney, get a consultation, see if it's what you want to do, and then if it is, file. You're on the road to rebuilding, on the road to recovery, financially, with a new mindset and a fresh slate. If you click the link, that's the network of attorneys that all offer free consultations. My attorney's in that network, and she is fantastic, and she's worked really hard to build a fantastic network of attorneys. Good luck.
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.